Say when. We're good? Welcome to the Choose to Change Foundation 90 Days Reentry Program. If you're a visitor or new to this program, we welcome you and we're glad you are here. Many of us walked into those doors not knowing, not sure what to expect, but many of us stayed because we saw real people who had real problems, but had real hope. This 90-day reentry program is a self-supporting group sponsored by the Choose to Change Foundation. There are no dues or fees to attend a class, but we do encourage donations from anyone who believes in what we are doing and our members. The only requirement for membership is a sincere desire to change. So if you already changed your life, then you're in the right place. Through this program, you will learn the tools and resources to finally change your life forever and a relationship-based support system to keep you going. For many of us, there's no easy way out of the mess that we caused in our lives, even if it wasn't your fault. But sometimes it was your fault or my fault. But the good news is that there is a way out if you would choose to believe in the impossible. Ladies and gentlemen, my name is Frank Salazar. I've been a member of the Choose to Change Foundation 10 years ago when I walked into the door, not really knowing what I was going to find here. And to be honest, when I found out it was for ex-cons, I was going to go back out because I'm not an ex-con, but I'm glad I stayed and I met Orlando and he challenged me. And it's been years, in the process. Last time I made an announcement that I was going to learn to drive and I was starting with my written test. Well, today I passed my written test. So now it's the next step of actually learning to drive, but I'm one step closer. Yes. Yeah. Yes. If anyone has a car I can practice in, I'll meet you in the back. Okay. But we're going to have a great meeting today with Orlando Salinas, the CEO and our mentor of the Choose to Change Foundation. Without further ado, here is Orlando. Let's give him a round of applause.
Yeah, thank you, Frank. Thank you, Frank. Awesome. Welcome, everybody. Thank you for coming. So, just a couple announcements. This Saturday is the chicken plate sale. So, I think we have your stickers. I think we also have the 90-day challenge. We have them here, finally. And but announcements, chicken plate sale, the biggest deal. The chicken plate sale on Saturday. We're doing really good. We sold so far, I think, like 200 plates. So that's really, really good. We still haven't hit the 300 that we need. But so this Saturday in McCoy's in Edinburgh, 107 in McCall, 107 in McCall. So if you're watching and you guys go support us, we're going to do, and if you can help, drop by, say about 10 o'clock. Just drop by and help us out. We're going to serve the plates between 11 and 1. Between 11 and 1. So I think really that's where we need the most help, between that time, between 11 and 1. Because other than that, we're just out there setting up, holding signs. But if anybody can help, that would be great. Who's ever had trouble in life? Ever since I remember, when I started learning about life change, success, and overcoming in life, I say that a lot because that is what I do. That is what we need to do if you're interested in changing your life. We want to move forward in life. And I've found out that, have you ever considered that your problems are problems? Have you ever considered them to be opportunities? Think about that for a minute, because I want to talk about that. I want to talk about windows of opportunity today. Because basically what we're going to do today is we're going to start, we're going to watch a video first. I saw this video. I was doing some research on what I wanted to share today. And I came across Jordan. What's his name? Huh? Jordan Peterson. And it's like a 25-minute video, but we're just going to see like maybe the 5 to 8 minutes of it. But I want you to listen to what it has to say, because it's talking about change. And what I'm going to do starting today is I'm going to start on this 90-day journey again that we always take every 90 days. And we're going to start at the beginning. Desire. So then, but for starters, I want you to listen to this video. I would encourage you, if you guys want to learn something in the next few weeks, bring something to write with. Take some notes. This is going to be some powerful information. And I want you to listen to this video for a minute. And I want you to see what you can hear and glean from it. He's talking about change. The video is called Killing the Weak Version of Yourself. Killing the weaker version of yourself. That's what it's called. It's about change. So listen to it for a few minutes and see what you can grab from it. I'm going to take some notes as I'm listening to it myself. All ready? Let's do it.
Most people walk through life unaware of their own weaknesses. They make excuses for their failures, blame circumstances, and justify their shortcomings as if they were powerless to change. But the truth is, the weakest version of yourself is not some external force holding you back. It is you. It is the part of you that clings to bad habits, that seeks the path of least resistance, that avoids discomfort and accountability. And unless you are willing to confront it, to strip away the illusions, to see yourself for who you truly are, you will remain trapped in the same cycle of mediocrity. Self-deception is comfortable. It is far easier to tell yourself that things are beyond your control than to face the fact that your own choices have led you to where you are. But if you refuse to acknowledge your weaknesses, how can you ever hope to overcome them? The process of transformation begins with a brutal, unfiltered assessment of your life. What are the habits that are keeping you stagnant? Where are you wasting time? What excuses do you tell yourself when you fall short? These are uncomfortable questions, and most people refuse to ask them because the answers force them to confront an inconvenient truth. They are not as strong, disciplined, or capable as they pretend to be. That realization is painful, but it is necessary, because the moment you stop lying to yourself, the moment you stop shielding your ego from reality, you gain something powerful, the ability to change. If you continue to tell yourself that your problems are someone else's fault, you give away all of your power. But if you look in the mirror and take full responsibility for the person staring back at you, you gain the ability to reshape your life. That is the first step toward killing the weaker version of yourself. You must first see it. And seeing it is not just about recognizing your flaws. It is about recognizing the ways in which you sabotage your own potential. Do you procrastinate because you are afraid of failure? Do you avoid difficult conversations because you fear confrontation? Do you constantly seek validation because you are unwilling to stand on your own? Every weakness has a root cause, and if you can identify it, you can dismantle it. But that requires honesty, and honesty is painful. Most people avoid self-examination because it threatens their fragile sense of identity. If you admit that you have been making excuses, if you admit that your habits are keeping you weak, then you are faced with the responsibility to change. And change requires effort. It requires discomfort. It requires you to abandon the easy path and embrace discipline, structure, and sacrifice. That is why so few people truly transform, because they are unwilling to go through the painful process of tearing down their weaknesses to build something stronger. But there is no other way. You cannot become the strongest version of yourself while still holding on to the weak one. You cannot grow while clinging to the same destructive habits and mindsets that have kept you stagnant. And you cannot evolve unless you first admit that the version of yourself you have been tolerating is simply not good enough. That is not self-hatred. That is not negativity. That is truth. And truth, no matter how painful, is always the starting point for real growth. So you have a choice. You can keep living in denial, telling yourself the same comforting lies that have kept you weak, or you can face yourself, acknowledge your flaws, and decide right now that you will not let this version of yourself continue to exist, because if you do not kill it, it will kill your potential. It will steal your future, and it will leave you at the end of your life wondering what could have been if only you had been strong enough to face yourself. There is a moment in life when you have to decide whether you are going to continue being a victim of your circumstances or take full responsibility for everything within your control. The weak version of yourself always looks for an excuse, someone to blame, something to point to, some external force that justifies inaction. It is convenient. It relieves you of accountability. It allows you to sit back and tell yourself that you would be further ahead if only the world had been fairer, if only people had treated you better, if only life had given you a different hand. But none of that matters, because even if all of it were true, you are still the one who has to deal with the consequences. And the only way to move forward is to take full responsibility, not just for what has happened to you, but for what you will do next. Taking responsibility is not about blaming yourself for everything that has gone wrong. It is not about feeling guilty for where you are. It is about recognizing that no matter how unfair, painful, or difficult life has been, you still have choices. You still have the ability to act. And if you refuse to recognize that, if you continue to see yourself as helpless, you will remain weak. You will continue to stagnate, because the only thing that can pull you out of your current situation is the realization that no one is coming to save you. No one is going to do the work for you. No one is going to hand you discipline, success, or strength. Those things have to be earned. The weak version of yourself loves to focus on the unfairness of life. It thrives on resentment, on comparison, on self-pity. It tells you that other people have it easier, that others were given opportunities you were denied, that you are justified in staying where you are because life has been unkind to you. But dwelling on that only makes you weaker, because the world does not care about your excuses. It does not slow down for you. It does not wait for you to feel ready. It moves forward, with or without you. And if you allow yourself to be consumed by resentment, if you allow yourself to sit back and wait for the perfect conditions to take action, you will be left behind. You might not be responsible for where you started, but you are responsible for where you end up. The strongest people in the world, the ones who build something meaningful, who push through hardship, who come out stronger, are not the ones who had an easy path. They are the ones who refuse to let difficulty define them. They are the ones who, instead of wasting time complaining about how unfair life is, ask themselves, what can I do? What action can I take? How can I change, improve, and move forward? And that is the mindset you need to adopt. Stop giving your power away by blaming others. Stop telling yourself that you will take action once things get easier. Stop waiting for the perfect moment to change.
Don't wait for the perfect moment to change. It's not coming. Man, that's a lot of stuff there. That is like Whoa. Does anybody want to comment on this? Any questions? Because I have a bunch of them, a bunch of comments. Go ahead, Chavarria. For those that are new here, just let me just say this real quick. This is it. This is what I teach in here. This is it. And if you don't know who Jordan Peterson is, I highly recommend you go look him up. Look at this video. Find out who Jordan Peterson is. He's a masterpiece of wisdom. I mean, like one of the top minds of our time. You have to listen. He's so smart, I have a hard time understanding him. You ever met somebody like that? Right? Sister, go ahead.
So I was just telling Linda on the way over here that there's someone that I've been talking to for a while and trying to motivate them into doing better, right? They have their license in one field, but they're working somewhere else. So I would tell them, hey, you know, you got to pursue it, go after this, and opportunities have opened up, and they never do it. But now someone came and reached out to her, and she asked me, hey, come with me to this interview. So we were there, and everything that I heard her and the lady talk about is everything that I've been telling her. But because it comes from me, disregard it. But the girl told her, because my friend was like, oh yeah, well, the thing is that I was waiting for that moment, to just, it's time now to do it. And the other lady, which is the owner, she's a lawyer and so on. She said, there's never that moment. You just have to do it. And then it'll start from there. And that's what I told the person. I said, you just have to do it. You can't just be here waiting for someone to be like, hey, do you do this? Oh, I want you to come onto the field. No, you got to up and do it. And then you pursue it. And that's how so then my friend was there saying, well, I just finally figured out I have to just do it. I have to just go for it. I was like, estoy pintada aquí o qué, So, but it's just so, like, it's mind blowing to know that someone else will reach out to them, as, the same as I've been trying to get her to come to Christ and so on. But at the end, I just go back to like, hey, you know what? This is prayers, answered prayers, because I just say send a witness. And there's part of that where the person's either being open to something else.
Mhm.
And I know that later on they'll go ahead and go the right way. But it's, again, the change. If you don't want to, if you're not going to put your part in it, pues, what are you going to just, grope around and be sad about it and moan that you never got anything in life? Or are you going to do something about it and try to pursue it?
Yeah, and this is what this class is about. But you have to get there to be able to receive and to grasp what this guy is saying and what I'm trying to teach in here. You have to get there. You have to get there to desire. And this is and when do we get there? How do we get there? I'm going to close with that here in a few minutes. But once you get there, this is what's going to start flowing into your life. When you start receiving wisdom, you start receiving correction, you start receiving, and it happens. And there's a certain thing called timing, but when is it time? When is it good? To be ready for change. When? Anybody else? What did you hear? Anybody hear something that caught your attention? There was a few things that caught my attention. For starters, the very first thing he said. Here's what he said. Oh, go ahead, Frank.
So towards the end, what really got me was when he said, "Stop giving your power away by blaming others." And I've heard that a few times, and that's something I've been learning to do myself. Like, oh, it's so and so's fault. It's my ex-wife. It's this. It's that, and I'm just giving them too much power when they don't have the power. It's me messing up or choosing not to move on, and that's something that a lot of us do, and I hear it a lot from friends like, oh well, because this person, like, no, don't worry about that person, worry about you. So that's something that stuck out, that we tend to blame others, but I mean, we're giving them more credit than they deserve.
Yeah. And this is what I'm going to be talking about here. This is what these 7 keys of life change is all about. This is why I wanted to show you this video. He started at the very beginning. He said, most people walk through life unaware of their own weaknesses. And we walk around, we have this facade. This is who I am, For women, they put on their makeup and for men, we walk around a certain way. We have a chip on our shoulder. There's something about us, even if, like I remember walking like that, and I was a loser drug addict. I knew it, but I walked around like I was somebody, That's how we are. When we're young, we do that because we're trying to figure out our lives. We're trying to figure out where we're going, what's going on. We're trying to figure out life. And so then he says, most people walk around unaware of their weaknesses. And we have a lot of them. They make excuses for their failures. They blame circumstances. And they justify their shortcomings as if they were powerless to change. Guys, I was learning this in prison, in a prison cell. Just these exact things like this. And I was literally powerless to do anything. But it started opening my mind. Well, what can I do to start the process of change? And see, and this is what we're doing here. I want to get you started. Because if you were like me, what happens is we have to rebuild what we built. What do I mean by that? We had certain mindsets. We had a blame list. We had excuses. We had all these ideas of whose fault it was. It was my mother's fault. It was my father's fault. I didn't have a father. I was abused. I was adopted. Nobody cared for me. Nobody taught me. Y'all with me? That's what he's talking about. Did y'all get it? And then he says, but the truth is that the weakest version of yourself is not some external force, he says. It's not something out there. And we think it's something out there. He says, holding you back. No. He says, it's you. It is the part of you that clings to bad habits, that seeks the path of least resistance to avoid discomfort and accountability. This is the kind of stuff, in other words, the reality is that many of us really has to just grow up and take responsibilities for our life, because that's what he's talking about. He's talking about it's not until you start looking in the mirror and saying and taking full responsibility for your life. That's when life starts to change. He said, take responsibility, he said. He says, you still have a choice. And I like this one. He says, nobody's coming to save you. Oh, because that's, I'm reading Acts right now. Acts in the Bible. I'm listening to it. That's what I do in the mornings. I listen. And the Apostle Paul was arrested and chained and beaten, and nobody was coming to his rescue. And he knew it. He just trusted God. He said, but if you refuse to acknowledge your weaknesses, how can you ever hope to overcome them? So let me give you an example of acknowledging your weakness. Let me give you an example. What does that look like? In other words, you have to come to face with your wife, with your brother, with your sister, with your friend, with your mom, and say, you know what? I don't know how to change. I need help. I don't know what to do. I need direction. Seeking and asking for help is a way of facing your reality of your weaknesses. What are the habits that are keeping you down, wasting your time? What excuses do you tell yourself when you fall short? He says you have to decide if you're going to continue being a victim. At the end of there, he was talking about the world does not care. And I thought about that. Well, what is the world? People, right? We're the world. I mean, is it like that round thing, the world? Is that what he's talking about? No, he's talking about people. And I say this a lot. I'm trying to learn how to say it in a way that people will understand. Because people do care. Well, some people don't care. I understand that too. But everybody has their own problems. Right? You can have compassion and not be able to help anybody. You can care and not be able to help. Maybe somebody needs financial help and you don't have money. I can't help you. And then there's a lot of people that need help. We can't help everybody, right? So I think that's what we mean when we say the world doesn't care. They have their own problems. Not that they really don't care or they are not capable of having compassion, but we have our own lives, right? To live. A lot of people come to church, right? And because they've grown up in a way where they think the church is supposed to give them everything because they need to pay their rent or they need food or they need this or that, and then the church doesn't give them anything. They say, that church doesn't care, right? But that's all I'll say right there. But it's powerful. I like this. He said, but if you continue to tell yourself that your problems are someone else's fault, you give away all your power. That's what Frank was saying. He says, but if you look in the mirror and take full responsibility for the person staring you back or the person staring back at you, then you gain the ability to reshape your life. So imagine I'm in prison and I'm reading stuff like this. Look in the mirror and like, oh man. It's very sobering, guys. And this is why so many people fail. Because it's hard to do that, to take full responsibility for your own life. And by the way, that's also called true maturity. Y'all got that? That's also called true maturity. This is what I preach and teach men. I ask men in men's classes, when does a boy become a man? Let me ask you. When does a boy become a man? Think about it for a minute. And then I ask, when did you become a man? When you were 18? When you were 25? When you had sex for the first time? Does it come with a driver's license? Does it come with when do men become men? And you know what? I found I was in search for that answer for years. I have an answer now. I'm going to give it to you. Years. Well, what is a man? I'm a man. Well, what does that mean? Let me tell you, consider what we're learning about taking full responsibility for your lives. True maturity is when you take full responsibility, 100% responsibility for your own life, paying gas, paying bills, paying everything, full responsibility. Your own money, your own life, your everything. You may have to start from nothing, but you start taking responsibility. A boy becomes a man when he chooses to. Isn't that powerful? You become a man when you choose to. Because being male is a matter of birth. Of course, if you ask certain people, that's debatable. But normal people understand that being male is a matter of birth. Being a man is a matter of choice. So change works the same way. You choose to change. I can't force it on you. I can't pray it on you. I can't make you do it. You choose. He says the first step towards killing the weaker version of yourself is to face the truth. Most people avoid self-examination, he says, because it threatens their fragile sense of identity. What that means is that many times we don't think too much of ourselves. That's what's so powerful about being a Christian. We're a son and daughter of a king. God loves us. God forgives us. God helps us. And if we didn't have that, the world doesn't care. Think about it for a minute. So you drift away in self-pity because nobody cares. God cares. So let's close with windows of opportunity. The reason I showed that is that when do we come to this? I call it windows of opportunity. When you're finally ready to receive what you just heard. This is where it all starts. This is where life change starts, at desire, wanting to change. I call windows of opportunity going to prison is a window of opportunity. It puts you in a position to where you have to force to make a decision. Do I get better or do I get worse? Do I continue on this path or do I change? Because change, like he was saying, forces you to make changes. Deciding to change, well, the first thing I started asking is, what do I change? This is why I teach what I teach. Having a bad accident, not being able to walk or something for a while, that's a window of opportunity. You have time to think about your future, your life, what you're doing, where you're going. A breakup, a marriage breakup, a relationship breakup, a heartache, a pain, a tragedy. You get to a point where you're, what do I do with my life? Where am I going? That's a window of opportunity for you, son. Where you are right now. You're in between. You're in a crossroads, is what I call it. And you have to make some decisions. Those are windows of opportunity. I go through them all the time. I'm going through one right now. In my job, I'm sure some of us that have jobs and we're working in a certain area, there's certain things that happen at jobs, certain people you have to deal with, problems that occur. And so then you're forced to make some decisions. What do I do? Do I explode here and just tell this person off? Do I quit and just say, take this job, and what do I do? You see how this works? See, I didn't know all this stuff before. But for a lot of people, a lot of us, we just say, I just don't give a F it. That's the easy way out. We all know that, right? F you, and I'm gone. And I'm out of here. Rah, rah. You're crazy. Windows of opportunity. I looked up windows of opportunity. And I asked, what are windows of opportunity? I asked Google. I actually asked ChatGPT. And he gave me some examples. He says windows of opportunity could meaning like hitting rock bottom. They actually gave me that. He says this is when an addict or an ex-con realizes that their life is spinning out of control, losing family, health, freedom. This moment of desperation can be a powerful window of opportunity. So what would that mean, a window of opportunity? That means that it's an opportunity. That means that there's a decisions that have to be made. It doesn't mean that it's going to be that anything good is going to come out of it. It's an opportunity for you to make a decision whether you want to change or keep going to where you're going. It's the opportunity for you to find support if available at this time. They may be more willing to accept help, into rehab, or join some recovery program. Windows of opportunity. Here's another one. Just released from prison. He says, the first days or weeks after release are critical. Many ex-offenders face overwhelming challenges. And I'm like, wow, I know all this. No job, no home. And the temptation to fall back into old habits. If they are immediately connected to a reentry program, I said, wow, a support group or a mentoring class, they have a much better chance to stay on the straight and narrow path. Windows of opportunity. He gives other ones facing legal consequences. Okay, that's a window of opportunity. Losing a loved one or relationship, that was another one. And then the last one was, he says, a positive influence steps in. Somebody steps in and says, hey, man, like you were saying, sister, like Birdie say, hey, they might not listen, right? Like we have family members, right? That we might want to talk to, friends that we want, but you know they're not going to listen to you because it's you. It has to come from somebody else. Let me give you one more and we'll close. Youth. There's a few youth in here. Youth is a massive window of opportunity. Massive. We don't see our opportunities when we're young. When we make the most mistakes. Because there's too much freedom. We don't know better. There's a lot of things going on. And you don't see this big old opportunity right in front of you. In fact, there's so many opportunities that we get lost in. It's, you have a father, a mother, a place to stay, or even if you don't have that, you have opportunity. You're young. People used to tell me that. What are you talking about? You may be thinking that too. What are you talking about, sir? I didn't understand it. It means I have time. How old are you, son? Okay. I'm 61. Well, I don't know, 62. Man. Okay. 20 years for me is very different than 20 years for you. Can you see that?
Yes.
Yeah. Very different. That's an opportunity for you to decide what I'm going to do with these 20 years, the next 20 years. 10. Because 10 years for me, it's like I'm retired already. What I did, ni modo, I can't go back. But you can go forward. What are you going to do with it? That's what you have to ask yourself. What am I going to do with these 10 years? I don't think he had anything to say. Thank you. And this is what we're about to embark here in the next few weeks, guys. I'm going to be teaching you about, if you're ready, if you take this window of today, this class is a window of opportunity. Snapping you out of, okay, all right, let's do this. Or what are you going to do with it? What are you going to do it? With your freedom, with your abilities, because you can do more. If you don't know, go read it. Go find out. Go figure it out. I'll never forget the first time someone told me, do you realize there's books out there? Now there's videos it's just a ton of information. There's books and podcasts and videos and YouTubes that can teach you how to be successful. And all you got to do is read it. Think about that for a minute. I mean, I'm talking about at your fingertips, right here. Well, how do you think I've been learning? I've been putting all this stuff together, and I researched. I found it. Oh man, this is exactly what I want to teach. This is what I know. So maybe they will listen to Jordan Peterson. It's right there, guys. If you only take up advantage of your windows of opportunity. Desire. What are you going to do with it? Let's close. Let's anybody have anything to say? I brought my donation today. Chavaria? We're gonna pass around our donation bucket, and if nobody has anything to say, or we'll go ahead and close and get ready for next week. Bring something to write with. Take some notes. And there you go. That's a good note taker. Hey, whatever it takes. But let's learn, let's grow together. Let's build something. And I think that I think we are growing. We are learning. So are we good? All right. Then we'll see you next week. Same time, 7 a.m. And we'll 7 p.m. And we'll see you next week. Thank you for watching, guys. God bless.